In January 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried was worth $21 billion. He was 29 years old, wore t-shirts and shorts to meetings with world leaders, and was being called the next Warren Buffett of crypto. His company, FTX, was valued at $32 billion. It had Super Bowl commercials. It had Tom Brady as an ambassador. It had a stadium named after it in Miami. 10 months later, it was all gone. Not declining, not struggling, gone. $32 billion in valuation, $9 billion in customer deposits, vanished. In just 10 days in November 2022, FTX went from being one of the most trusted names in crypto to the largest financial fraud in the entire industry. And the man at the center of it all? He's now serving 25 years in federal prison. This is the story of how the golden boy of cryptocurrency built an empire on a lie, and how it collapsed faster than anyone thought possible. To understand why FTX's collapse was so shocking, you need to understand just how trusted Sam Bankman-Fried was. Known universally as SBF, Bankman-Fried was a 25-year-old former trader when he founded Alameda Research in 2017. 2 years later, in 2019, he launched FTX, a crypto exchange designed for professional traders, offering sophisticated products that few other platforms could match. The timing was perfect. Crypto was exploding. Bitcoin was hitting all-time highs. Institutional money was flooding into the space. And FTX was right in the middle of it all, growing at a pace that defied belief. By January 2022, FTX was valued at $32 billion. The company had raised $400 million from some of the world's most respected investors: SoftBank, Sequoia Capital, Temasek, Tiger Global. These were not naive speculators. These were institutions that had built some of the most successful companies in history. And SBF wasn't just running a crypto exchange. He was becoming the public face of the entire industry. He testified before the U.S. Congress. He met with regulators. He donated hundreds of millions of dollars to political campaigns and charitable causes under the banner of effective altruism, the idea that making as much money as possible allowed you to do the most good in the world. He was charming. He was brilliant. He was humble, or at least appeared to be. And absolutely nobody suspected that behind the scenes, the whole thing was built on a foundation that was about to crack. Here's what was actually happening. FTX and Alameda Research, the trading firm SBF had founded before FTX, were supposed to be completely separate entities. FTX was the exchange. Alameda was a trading firm that happened to use FTX's platform. But in reality, the line between them had completely disappeared. Customer deposits made on FTX, money that was supposed to sit safely in accounts, available for withdrawal at any time, were secretly being transferred to Alameda Research. Alameda then used that money to make risky bets on the crypto market, invest in ventures, fund political donations, and purchase luxury real estate. Billions of dollars in customer funds used without permission, without disclosure, without any of the customers knowing. FTX's financials were never independently audited because it was a private company. There was no outside check on what was really happening. And insiders later revealed the company had a hidden back door in its accounting software, a way to alter financial records without alerting auditors. The scheme worked as long as crypto markets kept rising and customers kept depositing more than they withdrew. But in 2022, the crypto market crashed badly. Bitcoin fell from nearly $70,000 to below $16,000.
Alameda's risky bets were losing money fast, and the hole in FTX's balance sheet, the gap between what customers were owed and what actually existed, was growing larger by the day. By late 2022, that gap was estimated at up to $9 billion. And then, on November 2nd, 2022, a journalist found the match that would light the fire.
On November 2nd, 2022, crypto news outlet CoinDesk published an article revealing that a significant portion of Alameda Research's assets consisted of FTT, a token created by FTX itself. In other words, FTX's trading arm wasn't holding real assets, it was holding tokens that FTX had invented. Tokens whose value depended entirely on confidence in FTX. It was circular, it was fragile, and now the world knew. On November 6th, the CEO of Binance, FTX's biggest rival, announced publicly that Binance would sell all of its FTT holdings. The message to the market was clear: something is wrong. The bank run began immediately. Within hours, customers flooded FTX trying to withdraw their funds. In a single day, withdrawal requests totaled over $6 billion. FTX couldn't pay. The money wasn't there. On November 8th, in a desperate move, SBF announced that Binance had agreed to acquire FTX. It seemed like a last-minute rescue. 24 hours later, Binance walked away. After reviewing FTX's books, they described the problems as insurmountable. There was no buyer, there was no rescue, there was no plan. On November 11th, 2022, just 10 days after that first CoinDesk article, FTX filed for bankruptcy. Over 100 affiliated companies collapsed with it. SBF resigned as CEO. The man brought in to clean up the mess? John Ray III, the same restructuring expert who had handled the Enron bankruptcy 2 decades earlier. His assessment of FTX was damning. He said he had never in his career seen such a complete failure of corporate controls. On December 12, 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas. He was 30 years old. The collapse of FTX didn't stay contained to one company. The ripple effects spread instantly across the entire crypto ecosystem. Bitcoin fell to its lowest price in 2 years. Crypto lender BlockFi, which FTX had bailed out just months earlier, immediately froze withdrawals and filed for bankruptcy. Genesis, another major crypto lender, followed weeks later, owing creditors nearly $3.4 billion. Institutional investors who had backed FTX, some of the most respected names in venture capital, watched their investments go to zero overnight. Sequoia Capital wrote down its $214 million stake to zero. The Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan lost $95 million. SoftBank lost $100 million. And millions of ordinary customers, people who had deposited their savings on FTX to trade crypto, found themselves locked out of their accounts with no guarantee they would ever see their money again. A class action lawsuit was filed against SBF and several celebrity endorsers, including Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Stephen Curry, and Kevin O'Leary, accusing them of promoting the platform with false representations. The trial of Sam Bankman-Fried began in October 2023. His own colleagues, including his former girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, who had run Alameda Research, testified against him, saying it was SBF who had directed the fraud. On November 2, 2023, exactly 1 year after the CoinDesk article that started it all, SBF was found guilty on all 7 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. In March 2024, he was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. FTX's collapse left people asking a familiar question: how did nobody see this coming? The answer, again, is uncomfortable. People did see it, or at least they saw the signs. The lack of independent audits, the circular relationship between FTX and Alameda, the fact that a company valued at $32 billion operated with almost no formal accounting controls, the fact that SBF's net worth of $21 billion was almost entirely tied up in tokens his own company had created. But when someone is telling you what you want to hear, consistent returns, a visionary founder, a company that seems to be winning, it is incredibly easy to choose not to look too closely. And that's the pattern that connects FTX to Madoff, to Enron, to Lehman Brothers, to every financial collapse we've covered on this channel. It's not that the warning signs weren't there. It's that the people who could have acted, investors, regulators, auditors, journalists, found it easier, more comfortable, more profitable to believe. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't just steal $9 billion. He sold a story, and the world bought it. FTX was the biggest crypto collapse in history, but it wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. If you want to understand how these disasters keep happening and how to protect yourself when the next one comes, subscribe. We're covering a new financial collapse every week. And drop a comment below. Do you still trust crypto after FTX, or has the industry lost you for good? Thanks for watching Financial Collapse. I'll see you next week.